So from Sunday until Thursday, I wasn't home to it. Well, from Monday I wasn't home, but I haven't done anything with this terrarium since Sunday when I redid the pond. And the pond dried up over the past few days, but the big piece of driftwood, it's been sitting in an attic for years, and you thought the heat would kill everything, but I don't know if you notice how fungus has started to grow on it. So you can see some fungus growing on it. Like, let me move this closer. So I'm gonna go ahead and treat this with peroxide. I'm kind of dismayed because this week I received one of the orchids which I ordered, the Psygmorchis pusilla, if I pronounce it correctly. It has so many different names, and this is fully grown. It came in a piece of wood, and I put it on a little stand for the time being, and it would be nice to find a good spot to mount it in the terrarium. I may have to remove the lid that I fixed last week so that I can have more airflow, which means I'll have to water it more frequently. And I also need to water the pond because it dried up. Ironically, last night I was sitting around the house and being attacked by a mosquito. So that was probably not the smartest thing to do. I need to find some springtails to put in here. They'll take care of the fungus. That's what people tend to put in terrariums because you're always going to have mold and things if left unchecked. And they'll also help feed my orchid. You can see how the back leaves, the young ones, have like started. The small one in the back is standing up. They started to grow this way to where the light is because I had this near a window without the hood. I'm waiting to get the other light bulb for it. Anyway, let's go ahead and treat the wood with peroxide and see if that works. I have a pipette. I put a little peroxide in here, and you see how it's just rolling down, but it's causing the wet areas to foam. The top parts have started to dry out. Now, it's fine if peroxide gets into the growing media because it's supposedly really good for roots. So the fact that it's foaming near the bottom and not at the top where it's dry means I need to go ahead and spritz this so that it can start acting up and killing the fungus. So I went and got a little spray bottle with distilled water in it, and I'm going to go ahead and spray the driftwood. Make sure I get the underside as well, and the back side. And now I can go ahead and apply more peroxide and hope it starts to foam. Yeah, you can see it foaming. It's actually a cool effect. You could almost make like a reverse type volcano experiment. Usually people will put 20 to 30% peroxide versus the 3% you buy at any store. And you can find like 30% peroxide from garden centers, but it's worth trying what you already have before. I'm trying to get the backside. It's worth trying what you have before you start forking over money on other things. And I do need to find springtails to put in here. And like I mentioned, I read online that peroxide actually helps aerate the roots. So if it gets in the ground near your plants, it's going to be fine. But it does kill the. It does break down the. I think maybe the cell walls of the fungus or something. So it's good at eradicating fungus. Most people would have taken the log out or the wood and soaked it in bleach, and then you have to preserve it again to keep the chemicals from, the bleach from poisoning the terrarium. I one time had a terrarium set up, it was earlier this year, with a lot of sphagnum moss that was green and growing really well in there and spreading. It's a slow grower, but it was growing fast. But then I had all this algae growing with it and taking over, and I thought wherever I had algae, I'll put some tea tree oil on to kill it. But the fumes in a closed environment killed the sphagnum moss and everything else I had in there. I had a little liverwort growing on its own. I was like excited about that. So anyway, at least with peroxide, you don't have to worry about that. So right now I've killed a lot of the fungus, and I still have another orchid that I'll probably get next week. It hasn't been shipped yet, even though I bought it a few days ago. So I'll hold off on planting that miniature orchid I received in the mail until I get the other one, to find a spot for both of them and make sure that the fungus has no longer is not taking hold. And while I'm at it, I could always spray this one down, or peroxide this other piece, which doesn't have fungus. It's kind of funny how this one has fungus on it and the other one doesn't, and they were both in the same box in the attic. Ironic, isn't it? Okay, so that should suffice and hopefully tackle the fungus. And I hope you enjoyed this part of my 2-gallon aquarium to terrarium conversion. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.